Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and today I was reading my Popular Mechanics, and there's an issue about make anything, and they talk about people making things and the satisfaction that you get from using some particular tool or whatever that you made yourself. And I know what they're talking about, and that's one of the lures for getting out in your garage and making something. And you don't have to have a lot of tools to make something either. I built a 2x12 workbench in the garage in my first house with just a little old saber saw thing from Black & Decker, and cut all the 2x with it and everything. And I made an air compressor using a car air conditioner compressor. I was out of a Ford, as a matter of fact. I had two washing machine motors that I hinged and hung off of belts on either side of it to run it, and the air tank was an old water heater. Didn't have a hole in it. It was just an old water heater. I guess somebody decided it was time to throw out, and that was my first air compressor, and it made air for a whole lot of time for doing a lot of things. So you don't need much to make anything. Me, I've got a set of micrometers, a few calipers, some tool steel. I'm not into stuff like gauge blocks and all these fancy measuring things that other people have got, but I still am able to make things, so I'd really encourage you to get out and make stuff. And I know that there's a lot of people who are making stuff on YouTube, and I find them now and again, and they got good channels, but they need viewers. Now I'm sorry that I'm not one of the big channels like A-Bomb or Ox Tool Co. or something. I don't get the 2,000 views in 15 minutes or nothing. I do good to get 300 or 400 views all month, But if you would like to advertise your channel, write down in the comments, use all capital letters to describe it, and put in a link to your channel. And possibly out of that 300 or 400 viewers that I get in a month, some of those guys will come over and look at your channel. And you got to start somewhere. And making these videos is an example of making stuff. I mean, I'm not a videographer, not even smart. I just wanted to do it, And so here I am. All right, enough talking. Today I want to get into making a tool holder. In fact, I would like to make several of these, but just for the idea that I could put tools in them and just leave them in them, a right-hand tool and a left-hand tool and this and that. Just go ahead and leave them in the tool holder, just because I'm lazy and because I want to do it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get started making at least one, if not several, tool holders, quick change tool holders. So let's get on with the video. I found a piece of metal that's an inch thick, well within 25 thousandths, 975 or something. That's close enough to make the tool holders out of. This piece is too big for the saw, as you can tell just by looking at it. After I cut down into it about 5 inches or so, the saw is going to catch on the metal. That right there will hit the metal, and I won't be able to go any further down. It would be quite a bit to machine off of that to get it squared up, because the cut's starting to drift away from the mark. The mark's over here and the cut's drifting that way, so it'll wind up a little bit thicker. And I already laid the mark out because we thick enough to clean up, so I'll just have a little bit more cleanup to do. Well, right now it appears to me that the cuts will actually meet up in the middle, and I've got less distance to go to get to the meeting point than I went on the other side, so it ought to work out just fine. After a while, that piece should peel off of that. You can see where I corrected the direction of cut a couple of times, but it almost came out on the line, so I'm going to straighten up both sides, and this is enough for 2 pieces. I didn't plan on that little hole there. I didn't notice that, but of quite possibly I can get around that. So now it's time to square the thing off. After I made the first couple of cuts there, I realized that I'm actually squaring off about 3 inches that I'm not going to use, but it's not really touching all of that. It stops touching about there on the end, so I guess I'm not really wasting all that much time. Should have done this before I started squaring off the other side. I wouldn't have had as much metal to cut. Oh well. We'll cut the little curved part off both ends, and then we'll put it back in there and go on squaring it up. Alright, the sides on the thin direction are squared off. Now I'm going to run this thing down the side here to square off this part. This is the side that I'll cut the little groove all the way from one end to the other for the toes to hold, to go in. So I'd like it to be fairly straight with everything. The other side I may or may not square up like this because it's not, well, we'll see. I'm just a little bit under 1 inch, so I don't want to cut a lot of metal off. Now we're going to cut the groove for the tool. Doing it about maybe 3 or so cuts. It'll be a 1/2 inch deep, but I don't want to go that deep with the 7/16 end mill. Yep, I said 7/16. These little Chinese end mills off eBay. And I have a reason to think they don't cut the exact size written on them. So I'm going to cut down through there with the 7/16 and then I'll cut the other 16th off the sides. Okay, so this really actually is another day, because I took a day off to go run errands. But this guy, this is the 1/2 inch tool. It'll be fitting in there, and it's pretty tight in the slot. So I think that'll do the job. Now I gotta cut it down the middle so that it's 2 tool holders, and then roll the little boogers over and cut the dovetail on the other side, not to mention all the threading and stuff that'll go on later. Since this turned out a bit wider than the regular tool holder, and the reason it turned out wider is I set my saw over a little bit so I didn't cut in too narrow, and the stupid saw added to what I had added to it. And instead of being 1.5 inches, it was 1 3/4 inches. And I cut off about 100 thousandths, 150 thousandths of that, and thought, well, I'm wasting my time. Chances are the little bit of extra metal over here on this side won't hurt anything. And this side will be exactly the same dimensions as the regular tool holders. And if I find I need it to go down, that's hitting on anything, I can come back later and cut off the extra. But I don't think I'll ever have to. Alright, well, let's get on with the job. Alright, well, the blade is right on top of the mark, which marks the center line. So with any luck, these will be only about well, maybe a little over a 1/16 short of being the same length as the original. It's just the way that it turned out, and I'm sure that a 1/16 of an inch isn't going to make much difference. After all, we're going to have a lot of holding area there anyway. So away we go. Okay, now I got 2 pieces, but I'm going to have remnants of that hole, at least on one piece. I'll just call that the back side, And amazingly, it cut really close to square on the bandsaw, but I will square it up in the mill anyway better. But still, the bandsaw did a remarkably good job. I won't have to take off but a few thousandths. So I'll square them up, and then we'll get set up to cut the dovetail. Roughing out a spot before I cut the dovetail. I'll get as much out as I can without making the slot too wide or too deep. Now we'll start cutting the dovetail. Now that I've got the opening roughed out. This is about the third pass. I'm not cutting very much at a time. We'll be back. This should be about the last cut. Looks to me like if it's not on size, it's right at it. So I'm going to take it out of here and tie it over on the stool post and see if it fits. If it does, then this dovetail is cut. I believe it is. I'm making a little spring cut. And when that's over, I'll go over and try it out. Alright, time for the acid test. Fits. I guess that's what's required, is it fits. No need for video on the next one because it's just rinse and repeat what you just saw all over again. Alright, so it's time to put the holes in for the set screws, grub screws if you want to call them that, and the center screw that holds everything up for the adjustment. And so I drew a line right down through there to use as a, sort of a reality check. So now I'm going to go along and spot the thing, and if it looks right, well then I'll go ahead and drill the holes. Alright, there's no use you watching the whole thing. I'm going to finish spotting the holes. Alright, due to lack of planning and this being a round column machine, I've got to get drill bits in there, and that's not going to be enough room, I don't think. So I drilled a hole I can drop the center drill back into in the hopes of realigning it just where it was once I move the head up. Life's wonders sometimes, but there you are. I'm gonna look over my drill bits to see if I got anything that I can squeeze into that small hole. I doubt it, but we're gonna see. Maybe I can get out of moving the head. Okay, so letter drill F is the one to use for the 5/16 that I'm gonna put in. So here we go. That soft steel drills like butter, so this is more rinse and repeat. 4 more holes like that and this one will be done. Well, already made a mistake. I had to go to the Redneck Supply and get some taps to tap these things with, and I looked at the one that's going to be for the center post and it said F because it's a 5/16 18. And then I looked at the one that's going to be for these 4 holes for the grub screws, and they're supposed to be a letter I. So I'm going to run the tap through there and see if it looks like there's enough threads to hold, and if not, there's going to be one odd sized grub screw. That's the only thing I can think to do there, because I don't want to throw the part away. So away we go. There's somebody up there that loves idiots. It seems that the letter I drill bit is larger than the F, so I had actually drilled a hole too small. Move up to the I and drill a hole a little bit bigger, and I can tap it and everything's going to be lovely. Mistake accidentally corrected. I remember one time reading a comment, I don't know if it was my channel or someone else's, that just used a little spring-loaded point because all taps have got a hole in them, and I already knew when I read that it's not so. That tap doesn't have a hole in it for sure. I made a little piece here, if I can get it on screen. It's got a cone in the bottom of it to put up in there and hold that tap so that I can turn it with a wrench. There's no hole in every tap. Alright, so the guys that built this didn't drill that hole all the way through. As you can see, it stops there. But they had a bottom tap, and I don't. So I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to drill all the way through on the one I'm making, and I'll screw this in, and if he goes through and into the tool holding area, I'll trim him off until he can't reach through. I guess that's probably the best solution. Alright, I couldn't get the right size set screws at Redneck Supply, so I had to take these little jobbies here, I guess cap screws you call them. And this guy didn't go all the way through, so I was lucky on that. I've still got to make the nut that, you know, goes out and centers. There's one mistake on this thing. I should have moved this further over to this edge here, and I put it sort of dead center, and that has kind of interfered with everything being wonderful. So the next one, he won't be identical to this. This guy will be moved closer to the edge here. That's this way I should have done it. I didn't look at everything close enough. But at least this one will work, and it'll hold the tools, and it'll be finished when I get the little nut for it. I couldn't find any of those little washers, spring washers anywhere. Redneck Supply just simply didn't have any at all, of any size. And I don't want to order it from McMaster Car and, you know, pay them $3 and for the washers and $15 for shipping. You know, that wouldn't make sense. So getting around it all, I'm just using what I can get a hold of easily. Well, as we near the end of the job, one of the last things to do is to glue these parts. And then when I finish that, I've got to make the little knurled nut that goes along with that, and the job will be done. So I'm going to blow it off camera. There's no use you watch me wipe it on and wipe it off a dozen times. So when you come back, they should be blue, and I should be working on making the little brass nuts. Alright, it's time to make the little nuts for positioning, and then put them on, and we'll be through. Looks like the cutters are a little bit dirty. About 200 thousandths. That'll about do it right there then. There we are. It just needs a little cleaning up. But that's the first nut right there. Needs some cleaning up. But it's a little hot right now, so I think I'll let it lay down there, and I'm going to back this thing off of the screw here and do the same thing a few more times, so there's not much to see. Okay, so they're finished. There's a few little minor things here that due to my lack of planning. Number one, these little positioner bolts are a little taller because I didn't really measure that one right. In fact, I didn't measure it at all, you know. I didn't expect there to be a hole in the metal that I cut out, so I've got a hole there. And I didn't expect to go down to Redneck Supply and find out I couldn't get grub screws like that. I had to take cap screws to have a fine thread. So there you are. That's the old. And I didn't move this post over as far as I really should have, but I did this one. So there's a few little mistakes or unplanned things, but overall these guys will hold. Well, lift these guys up a little. These guys will hold the tool bits, and that's what counts. So we'll go and stick one on and just, oh, I was showing you the O-rings there. I couldn't get any spring washers. This guy's got a little spring washer in here. I guess you can see it. And I was unable to get spring washers at Redneck Supply. They didn't have any. There wasn't even a bin for them that was empty. So I guess that's neither here nor there. But I've got those O-rings, and Lee Precision uses O-rings to hold their stuff steady, so I can do it too. All right. Now we'll go over to the lathe and stick it on there and see what it looks like. There's your problem. Okay. You know, all these other channels got dogs in their videos. I don't have any dog in my videos. Would you like to be in the video? Huh? Are you interested? Give any thought about being in a video? Do you want to do it? Huh? Do you want to be in the video? Well, say something to tell me, yes or no. Do you really want to be in a video? Huh? Tell me. Are you interested? You are? You want to be in a video? Okay, well then we're going to do it. All right, we'll do it.